Hey
Yeah.
everybody.
Hello.
We're gonna give it about a minute, let everybody funnel in here. Alan, tell me the best thing that's happened to you so far this week. I'll leave it open ended for you.
Open ended. We just got back from vacation Monday or Tuesday. It's been a couple days anyway. So probably the best thing that has happened, being that most of the trip was kind of like an AAU business trip thing. We just kind of made other things work up in Philly. Philly was okay. It's pretty cool. May never go back, but it was fun. Like it was cool to see stuff. But we took a trip over to Jersey Shore for like a night, and
Yeah.
that was awesome. Like I was just kind of blown away at how different of a vibe and how cool that was. I'll definitely go back there. So,
Yeah.
uh,
So
Jersey
underrated.
Shore was a
Jersey Shore underrated.
extremely underrated,
Okay.
cheap, a party, a freaking party. So a whole family had fun. We have a toddler, we have two teenagers, then Courtney and I. So yeah, that was it. That was awesome. Like we all kind of agreed, like that was really cool. So that. What about you, man?
Yeah, quite the disparity there between you got a couple kids almost in college, like you almost got them out the house, and then you got a
Yeah,
2-year-old at home, which
yeah,
I love that. I love that so much.
yeah.
Uh, Maybe that'll be me and my wife here in a few years.
Uh huh.
Um,
Yeah.
but let's see, best thing that's happened to me this week.
Hmm.
I'm going to try to keep it Louisville centric.
Yeah.
Um, I'll go the addition of, like, if we're talking just strictly Louisville sports,
Yeah.
let's go the addition of Malik Williams to this team and finding
Man.
out officially that Montrezl Harrell is on the roster.
Yeah.
I think that officially that got me excited, right?
Hmm.
And as we're kind of diving in, as people are funneling in here, I think that like this is the first year that for the Ville TBT team, like the expectations to get to a championship game are absolutely realistic, right? Like it's all laid out
Yes.
there in front of you. No team has ever had an opportunity like this, right? So you
Yeah.
have really a core of the national championship team
Hmm.
back. You have some stars since then back. You have some throw-ins like a David Sloan and like a Jay Scrub,
Hmm.
who were guys that the David Sloan thing is a little bit different because he wasn't super heavily recruited out of high school or anything like that.
Uh huh.
But um, the J Scrub edition
Yeah.
is so huge, and I think a lot of people are going to. I don't know. It might be what's the word? It might be something that's like a release for us almost. What's the word that I'm trying to think of?
I like
Um,
release.
it
I get
it'll
it.
be a nice release, right? Like it's nice seeing these guys that are
Reprieve.
you can't love on a Shane Behan and Montrez Harrell, Peyton Siva, Russ Smith. Like, I mean, you essentially have, three of the or four starters from the championship team, right?
Right.
More or less.
Yeah.
And then, you throw in just beloved former players like an Earl Clark, a guy who, we really thought was going to be a Final Four national championship type of player.
Yeah.
Almost got there in 2009.
Yeah.
And then you throw in a David Johnson, who was a beloved player, beloved. He's a hometown guy, so I think that
Yeah.
adds to the lore, right? You throw in a Chris Dow, a guy who was a serious contributor last season, and another guy that made a serious impact for Bellarmine. You throw in a Quinn Zlazinski, a guy that you hate to see his career end the way it did at Louisville.
Uh huh.
Like there's just all the pieces just make sense, and then of course you're led by Luke Hancock, and you have so many different hands in this, people around the city, people that we know and love that are involved in this. It feels like there's this true sense of community
Hmm.
around this team more so than there's ever been. And then you factor in that Louisville was the first to, what was it, 4,000 tickets, I believe, sold.
4,000. Yep.
Um, and so now they have home court advantage. If they keep winning, they're going to play in Louisville. Like this became so much of a thing that now they're trying to figure out, they had to figure out where to play the Final Four games if it gets to that point, right?
Yeah.
Never want to take anything for granted. Every team in this tournament is legit in some form or fashion, but you have to love the setup here.
Yeah. I think you touched on it a little bit with Luke Hancock. being the coach, and I know this is the boring part. Everybody wants to hear about players, but when you have Luke Hancock, who was always kind of destined to be a coach, he was the vocal leader on the 2013 team. So he's kind of always been a player coach, destined to kind of do that. You have a player coach in Peyton Siva who has D1 coaching experience, has seen the fastest pace of at least college athletics, that you can think of. I mean, you got Mark Lieberman kind of in the background, and he's got Steve Rummage. I know that Steve only has a little bit of experience under Coach Lieberman, but they know each other. There is chemistry there, from what I understand, and they're coming fresh off of a full season where they were able to bring in some highly talented kids. One of the highest in the state chose to play for both of those guys, so they have coached some talent. Obviously, Lieberman's track record speaks for itself. So I think when you have so many, like the depth on the coaching staff, and I don't even know if Lieberman's a coach technically, but I think the depth of coaches and coaching brains in those practices is pretty deep as well. It's all very impressive. And like you're saying, I was kind of timid about, how far I projected this team openly. I'll admit, I kind of, not that I didn't think that, we could do some damage, but just with this last week, like you said, the confirmation of Montrezl Harrell going to play for us, that's major. And you have Quinn Slasinski and Malik Williams. I mean, man, because the one thing that I was screaming about to no one cares what I scream about on Twitter, but I'm saying yeah, this Louisville alumni team really needs a shooter and a big. We need another one. Just to not just for depth pieces, but these are both guys that are still talented and still still playing it in leagues where they can showcase themselves. So I think that really completed it for me.
Yeah, and they went ahead and just said, why not both? Just get
Yeah.
Quinn Slazinski, who's a big who can shoot it.
Yeah, which is cool. I was going to say last year during it might have been the sideline versus cancer game when I was in the media area. They were standing together. Like PK and Donovan Mitchell were kind of over here. They were standing together, kind of cracking jokes. And they were both saying like, hey, man, next year, I mean, I imagined that they were talking about that, watching them. And I'm like, please, trying to, materialize it, I guess. And I'm just glad that it happened. I'm glad they're both like bam, bam, like that at the end. So pretty cool.
It's, I think that it's becoming the luster of this being a something that's new has kind of worn off, right?
Mm-hmm.
There was discussion like the first year, everybody was like, "Oh, well, Louisville should win. The Ville should win this whole thing," right? Like that was the expectation. And then you go in and you realize, all right, well, there's some dogs on these teams. Number one,
Mm-hmm.
Number two, a lot of these guys have been playing together a lot longer than a team like the Ville. And they've been playing in this tournament. So they played with this pressure. They played with the Elam ending. We talked to some people that are, kind of behind the scenes with the basketball tournament. And they said like, it's great to have a Louisville based team, a Kentucky based team, Bellarmine, whatever it is. But these teams don't just come in, these alumni of teams that are assembled don't just come in and just start blowing the doors off of people, because every team in this tournament has a veteran roster. Every team has a roster chock full of guys who are pros or former NBA players. There's not really many slouches. And then there's obviously some mainstay teams, some guys that like this is their big thing for the year, where they might be working their just a 9-to-5 day job type of thing, and this is their opportunity to come out and play like competitive basketball for just a really high level prize at this point. But one question that we had come in was just about attendance. Saturday, kind of an odd time, positioning it at 12:30. And the one thing about TBT that I took note of, especially in the first game last season, it's kind of like an awkward beginning, right? Like this is a team of players that have never really, I mean, obviously some of these guys have played on teams together, but they haven't played as this team together. And especially for very long. And then there's the changing dynamics of the team year in and year out. And then you have the aspect of, some of them are getting their feet under them, and there's not really any tradition, right? So there's not, I think tradition really carries the atmosphere of your traditional Louisville or elsewhere, really carries games. And when this is kind of deemed more like a neutral site type of thing. It really takes like you need to come out the gates and hit a couple shots, or have a couple thunderous dunks. That the start to the game last year against the Bellarmine alumni team, when you're almost down by 20 points in the first half,
Yeah.
the atmosphere is very odd. Like, it's just an odd dynamic. People sitting where they're not used to sitting, people being in a place where they haven't been for a long time, players playing together they haven't played together for a long time, officials officiating. Like, it's really kind of like a 9-round boxing match, if you will. Like, it's kind of feeling each other out a little bit. And then once they got into the tournament, they got a little bit more settled. But it's such a jarring experience in a sense, because you have this kind of this crowd that's waiting to blow the lid off the place. You always forget how loud Freedom Hall is, with that lower ceiling and the way that the acoustics are set up, if you will. But that was an interesting dynamic to me last season. But to the attendance thing, I took a quick peek, cheated a little bit. My guess, if I had to guess attendance for Saturday's game, I'm going to go just a bland 5,000. I think that's a pretty good estimate based on what's available online, based on what we saw last year, the initial response. But I think the bulk of the tickets that you saw that went off the market were pretty immediate. People that were like, I enjoyed this experience previously, let's go back, and while we're at it, we might as well do it now to get home court advantage. But I don't think there's been a ton of people rolling in clamoring for TBT tickets, maybe like in years past. I don't know. Any thoughts on what attendance could look like?
Yeah, well, I know when Chrissy Banta kind of was getting the attendance thing up, she wanted to get to 4,000 quickly, and it worked. Credit to her and the whole team. But so I think those numbers started to climb pretty quickly. And my first thought was, these are all going to be the first game of Louisville, like tomorrow's game, or Saturday's game is like Boston versus Cancer. And I thought we were just going to not fill it up, but I thought the bulk of those 4,000, the first of them that came in, maybe even $3,000 of them, were going to be for that game because they were the cheapest or whatever. But I went down the line, and some people admitted this, that they bought other tickets, cheaper tickets.
Oh, sure.
So to games that they won't go to, or they might go to, but they just wanted to get Louisville there. So they saw it as a donation of like $15. You know what I mean? Just to make sure that we were playing in the Final Four. Maybe they'll play in the they'll attend the Final Four at Freedom Hall if we get there. But I think this year though, the draw because there's no Bellarmine team, Chris Dow was beloved at Bellarmine. I'm hoping that, and this is me calling a peace treaty for the Bellarmine fans, right? Like, come out and support your guy. You know what I mean? Again, because this year you guys don't have a team in the field. So that's kind of what I'm hoping for is that we draw from other fan bases and maybe even people that, like some, because I know that David Sloan has a huge following here too, have some people. And, I'm hoping to get a big group out, and it doesn't all have to be Louisville fans, and we can all just, maybe this could be like a separate thing, kind of like Lou City, where it is a Louisville thing, but it's not I guess it can be a U of L thing, but it's something we can all just kind of agree on for a couple weeks. You know what I mean? Yeah. To boost the attendance numbers. I'm hoping.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Saturday at 12 is a weird time. If the Ville wins, it's a 1 versus 8 situation. So, the expectation is they win, but an 8-1 in the first round last year. So there's nothing's guaranteed. Every team in this tournament is good, and you only get one chance. It's not like you've had games leading up to this, right? So if you're thinking about going, like, go and get the experience now, and then worry about the other games later, right? But I would just for people who have not really been paying much attention to what the schedule looks like. So the first 3 games in Freedom Hall, if Louisville's fortunate enough to win the first 2 games, you're looking at 12:30 on Saturday, and then turn right back around and play at 7 on Sunday night. And then the next game would be Wednesday night. If they were to advance to, I guess that would make it the Sweet 16 round. So those are really the 3 games that are scheduled. Then you kind of reshuffle a little bit, right? Who comes out of the Lexington region? I'd say just like most would expect Louisville to come out of the Louisville region, that they would expect the Ville. And then most would expect La Familia to come out of the Lexington region for that Elite 8 game.
Yeah.
So I don't want to dive too much into what the opponents look like. I think we've tried to do that in past years. We've tried to speculate. We tried to talk about who's on what team. Look, every team they play is going to be good. They're going to have to play well. They're going to have to play cohesive. They're going to have to make shots. I mean, I think that's a huge part of this, right? Can you make shots when it matters the most? But every game is going to be a dogfight. Like, you have to play aggressively. You have to play together, or you could see like a little bit of a scare like you had last year with Bellarmine. You could see, an early knockout. It happens every single year. And so this team has to come ready. They have to come prepared. And we saw, I mean, they've been together for a little bit now. So they're getting acclimated. But again, I don't really want to speculate on who they could face, because I think in years past we've been like, oh, well, they could face Heard That. I think was the big one last year, right? That we were scared about, maybe like in an early round. Maybe we won't make it to the La Familia game because of the Marshall team that had.
Yeah.
I think they'd either won it or been in the finals the year prior. So
yeah.
So don't even want to speculate on that. I really want to focus on this team, because this is clearly the best team that they've assembled. Now there's some players like a Nick Mayo. I'm gonna miss Nick Mayo. Love that dude. I think he was an absolute spark plug in the first few years. But let's just go over this roster. So really, you can kind of break this down into 6 quote unquote bigs, right? And 7 guards. That's essentially what we're looking at here. So the bigs are going to be as follows: Earl Clark, Shane Bohannon, Montrezl Harrell, Quinn Slazinski, Ray Spalding, and Malik Williams. Really like that aspect of the last two we mentioned there. Malik Williams, a guy that he's just kind of flown under the radar, right? Because his career was not one that saw like a lot of postseason success. It wasn't one where there's a bunch of great things happening around him. There's a lot of great potential there, but then in the 1 year where that was canceled by COVID, Malik was in and out due to injuries, and then really he was kind of a co-starter, if you will, with the Stephen Enoch. So a guy that people, I don't want to say forget about, but you don't think about as much. And I don't want this to be an afterthought that he was added. This is a guy that's been in and out of the G League, playing at the one of the highest levels of professional basketball, and he's really probably near the peak of his career. So it's really interesting to see a guy like this joining the roster. Ray Spalding, we got a chance to see him firsthand at the Trey Moses celebrity basketball game.
24 Reasons basketball game. Yeah.
Yes. And Ray, obviously, he not for people that weren't there, obviously you don't know, but he has been dealing with, he's been hobbled a little bit, right? And so, and things like that, the last thing you want to do is get hurt. So he just kind of goofed off for the first half, and just kind of made it fun. But you still saw, like, when he got out and on the break for a dunk, or when he's actually trying and like truly defending as hard as he can. Like, I mean, by far the best player on the floor, I would say, at least right now as things stand. So then obviously Montrezl Harrell's great. Quinn Slazinski we can get into if we want. And then Earl Clark. I mean, look, this is a guy that they've tried the first 2 seasons to get him involved. Back when this was, I mean, he was like the number one name I think people wanted back when they were trying to assemble a team back in 2021, I believe. And so just a really good group of bigs. Any concerns? Like, I think that we could, as fans, it's very easy to just to sit back and dream about the good old days. But any concerns about the group of bigs that we have here?
Yeah, no. I mean, as far as concerned, and this is just me. I mean, it may not be just me. This is just how my brain works. I am 41, full disclosure. I still try to play basketball every day. I say try because it doesn't always go as planned. You just move differently the older you get. And I think about the age of, and I'm not even going to single anybody out, but there's a couple that are like getting up there, as far as, putting your body through that. Knowing that we have dudes coming straight out of Division I basketball in this thing that we could potentially face. Actually, we do face one. Zachary, the kid from Clemson, plays for Boston versus Cancer. Is a kid that averaged like 10 and like 5 rebounds or something like that. I don't
Mm-hmm.
have it in front of me. Shot the hell out of the three. So not that he would be guarding, or not that any of these bigs would be guarding, that guy. But I think about, some of these more athletic guys that are in their just, late 20s, mid 20s that you might be going up against, and you're pushing. I mean, some of these guys are getting up there. So I think my and I'm sure the coaching staff sees that. I trust Luke Hancock. I feel like that's a guy that's going to make the decision, and it's best for the team. Period. Point blank. So if things get sticky, and you might have to sit a guy because he needs rest. I think they did that with Siva a couple times. I think that might have been Siva being like, "Hey, man, like I did what I can," because that's the way it is. I'll just the way it is. Like if I go to the park, I can't play 3 games anymore. You know what I mean? I can run a good one, maybe most of one, depends on who's out there. And then my body's like, all right, we got our reps in. Let's go sit down. That's it.
Yeah.
And not that I'm this athlete at all. And I didn't play ball like that, at all. I just like to do it recreationally. So I don't really train like these guys either. But that's the concern is father time as far as some of these bigs across the entire roster, really. But yeah, I did like how you put in Quinn Slasinski because, yeah, he is a taller guy, but he's one of the more truer, I guess, forwards on this team where you don't put a FC next to him, you just put the F, where you're like, oh no, this guy's a forward. You're like, he's going to stand out there, he's going to shoot it. You're not going to see him bang around too much. We don't need him to. So, no other real concerns with the bigs other than that, and I think that's any team can say that in this, because that's what this league is. It's it's the turn back time league, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just did some quick research here just so that we can kind of have an understanding, right? Time's undefeated. And I can tell you, being somebody in my early 30s, like these don't work like they did 5 years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, you look at Shane Mahanon's 32, Earl Clark is 37, Montrezl Harrell is either 31 or 32.
He looks fine though.
He was the only one I did. Yeah, Trez is in playing shape.
Quinn
is 24.
Mm-hmm.
And then you throw in a Ray Spalding at 28. You kind of have that more youthful kind of aspect to this, right? So, I mean, you look at, it's the same thing. Peyton's in his early to mid 30s. Chris Jones kind of the same boat. Russ Smith kind of the same boat, right? All of this is to say you really have this good yin and yang between real experienced leadership, and then kind of more of a youthful side too, right? So I think it's a good mix. If you dive into the guards really quickly, so obviously you have the two, very fun. So you have the mainstay. The mainstay is obviously a Peyton Siva and Russ Smith. Then you have Chris Jones rejoins the fold again. We talked about Chris Dow, and then David Johnson, of course. So last year, if you look at what the starters looked like last year, David Johnson, probably your primary guard. And then you have, I don't remember if they started both Russ and Siva. I know that Peyton was a little bit banged up last year and just kind of giving it a go when he could.
I think he came off the bench. I think they did start Russ. I think so.
Gotcha. And then Chris Jones, obviously, I mean, he had an Elam Ender. He's a guy that you want to give the ball towards the end. Right there, I think that's a really good backcourt. I think that's one of the better backcourts that you're going to see right there if you just stop. But then you add David Sloan and Jay Scrubb to this roster as well. And then we talked about the addition of Chris Dow. It's interesting to see who's going to get those minutes, right? I think if I had to guess, if I'm just, and again, just throwing things out there, I mean, Peyton is in playing shape. He's in better shape right now than he was at this time last year. As far as I know, health is fine, but I don't see him playing a ton of minutes, like unless just the team dynamic, that's what it needs. I think that if you're looking at this group of guards, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think like you see maybe like a David Johnson and Jay Scrubb maybe as your two starting guards, or you could throw a 3-man guard lineup and have like a David Johnson, Jay Scrubb, and then maybe either Russ or Sloan. That's kind of the direction I'm leaning there. But we wanted to do an interesting exercise here, Alan. I'm going to let you go first. But I think this is a great way to illustrate what sort of depth you have on this team. And so I just want to go back and forth drafting our TBT teams. And then I think it'd be good to kind of look at them side by side in a 5-on-5 aspect almost. And then you look at this as really similarly to this year's Louisville basketball team. You could have this kind of dynamic of you could have two de facto starting lineups.
Yeah.
So if you're Alan Thomas, if you're the guy who has, you're looking at this team and you can pick anybody on the floor to start with the first pick in the Preston Allen 2025 TBT the Ville draft. That's workshopping that name. Who are you taking?
Yeah, put the graphic on the screen. TBT draft. Yeah. And with the first pick, where's Adam Silver? So I will tell you this, and I have to disclose this since we are battling. I have a couple nuggets about people that have seen, there's been a little bit of access at Shoot 360 at some of these practices or whatever.
Sure.
A couple nuggets from per sources. So that, and these aren't concrete things. These are just what everybody, a few people kind of agree on together, right? The biggest surprise in practice, talent-wise, Chris Jones. So that's interesting going into this. Yeah, right? I mean, this is a guy that's just kind of hungry. He's just kind of the definition of a dog, pretty much out there.
Oh, yeah.
The vocal leaders, one of these is going to surprise you. One is not a surprise at all to me. Vocal leaders in practice, Montrezl Harrell, not a surprise.
Nope.
This one does surprise me, though, and this one made me rethink my draft prospects a little bit. Quinn Slazinski, vocal.
Yeah, I believe
if I'm talking about, and we see it with PK talking, if you're an extension of the coach, like we want you on the floor, like we need somebody out there that I can radio to, and obviously they don't use radios, but I can say, hey man, I need, get on these guys. So that being said, I just wanted to, sprinkle that in for you. So that it's a fair fight.
No, I like that.
Yeah,
Keep it coming. Who we got? First pick of the draft. Who we got?
The first pick of the draft, and I think this is kind of this would be if you put out a poll, a lot of people would pick this guy first. It's just my opinion. But I'm going to go with Jay Scrubb.
I like that.
Take him. He's just a dynamic player that still plays at a high level, that still has the ability and confidence to take over, and has the just based on film, has the confidence of his teammates where it's like, here you go, man. Yeah. What do we need to do to help you get the bucket? Like, that's what I'm seeing on film of him. And this is with guys that are still like trying to get into the NBA, and he's still dropping 25, 27, 29, 30. Like,
right.
He absolutely has potential to drop 40 in this league, maybe more.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So that's my number one.
Absolutely. And I think Jay Scrubb, so you kind of got your starting point guard, if you will. I guess he could play as a combo as well. But you kind of have your starting point guard out of the way for you.
Yeah.
Now, my thought here as well is I think there's something to prove for Jay Scrubb, not only career wise, but just there was so much surrounding that team going into Chris Mack's last season. There's a lot of hype coming off of the previous year, and just so much hype and hope for what that team could be. Jay Scrubb, the storyline was absolutely around, kind of building that team around him. And he kind of set that precedence of being one of the first players ever to jump from JUCO and be drafted. That says a lot about who he is as a player, and continues to be as a player. But then obviously, you have that secondary storyline of he's finally getting to play in front of a hometown crowd for the first time in almost a decade. So that's huge. So Jay Scrubb, I think that probably would have been my number one pick as well. We're going to cross him off the list, though. I feel like I kind of have to go tat for tat with you, though. I got to go David Johnson for my first pick. Just because he was clearly the most talented player on the floor last season. He's a guy that, again, you can kind of give him the ball. He's going to go get you a bucket. But he's also, his length is going to be significant in this tournament. And I think that's a guy, like, if it does come down to what the expectations are, an Elite Eight game for a chance to go to the Final Four, the Ville versus La Familia, David Johnson's a guy that has to be in the picture in a major way.
Yeah.
And then are we going snake, or are we just going straight up? What do you
Snake is
think?
fair. No, snake
Okay.
is more fair. Yeah.
All right. Let's go snake here. And so that means with my second pick, I'm going to take Chris Jones as my second pick. How
Okay.
about that?
Yeah.
And I know
I love that for
maybe
you. I love that for you.
I don't know if that's who you would have taken. I don't know if you were thinking big. But I think that, look, I mean, you had an Elam Ender last year.
Mm-hmm.
He's a dog. Like, this is
Yeah.
a guy that's just an absolute, like, this is a tournament where you want somebody going to war for you.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, that's the only way that you're going to win this thing. That's the only way
Yeah.
you're going to keep from getting knocked out. Because
Mm-hmm.
there's talented teams that are relishing the opportunity to play a team like the Ville. I think Chris Jones is a guy that you have to have, and I think he plays with that chip on his shoulder, right? Like, he
Yeah.
wasn't on the original iteration of the TBT team, and he took exception to that and came out and put a real scare in that the Ville team. Number one, now that he's on this side, he has something to prove as far as a player. He's just always been that chip on the shoulder guy. That's who you want down the stretch. I'm taking Chris Jones. Who you got for your second pick?
I kind of felt like you would do that. And it's totally fair. But yeah, that was going to be my pick. But I have to, and this is kind of a guy that I wouldn't have really. I mean, obviously, I'm going to watch film on everybody, no matter what, just because like we're nerds, we're going to do that. I know you do a lot of that. No offense,
Oh
basketball
no,
nerds.
I am absolutely a nerd in every sense of the word.
Okay, yeah. Well, in that case, me too.
I married a
Um,
woman who has Star Wars tattoos.
yeah, okay,
There you go.
you fall right in there. Yeah, that's fair. Who is awesome, by the way. I'm gonna go, tit for tat, same way. And you and I, it's cool that we're on this together doing the draft because we had a chance to watch this guy. I'd never seen him play in person. I've seen him play back in his playing days at Kansas State, but we got a chance to see David Sloan uh,
Dog.
basically take over again, celebrity game. But he was hitting some shots that you don't really. I mean, you're going to have room in this league to do that. I mean, he was hitting them from deep. He's pull up. He's if he needs to get in the lane and dish it, he can do that. And just I thought he had good accuracy with finding people on his team. Um, so I'm gonna go with David just because I need a guy that can distribute. If Jay Scrub can come down and take it on my team, like he can take the ball up the floor anytime. But if we're gonna have a guy, switch off with him, I like the ability to be able to attack from whether the front. You want to put Jay Scrub over here? Is he going to be in the corner because he can shoot too? So both these guys are shooters. I like a good shooting lineup. That's just me, not to give you my secrets or anything. But that's who I think. I've been vocal about that too. Louisville fans are really going to like this kid. I mean,
Yeah.
absolute like quick, athletic, like you said, dog does everything right and he'll probably earn some minutes. If I don't know who's starting or whatever, but he'll probably earn some minutes. I'd say a nice chunk.
I think David Sloan, like, each year, each iteration, there's been a player that people weren't talking about that
Mm-hmm.
really just showed up and showed out. I think
Yeah,
in the first season, you really had Nick Mayo, and then you had Omar Pruitt. Omar Pruitt was a guy that when they needed him the most, he really showed up and showed out. I think last season, again, people knew about Nick Mayo a little bit more, but he continued to kind of be that steady presence. But you also had the presence of a Chris Jones. And I think you see the flashy names of Peyton Siva and Russ Smith and then
mm-hmm.
David Johnson, and Chris Jones becomes an afterthought. And it's nothing against him. It's just the way
Right.
that you kind of compartmentalize these things in your mind. You associate one era with, mostly good memories, associate other eras with less, ultimately less success in the postseason. And that's how we ultimately remember a lot of teams by. So,
Yeah.
but I think that there's a reason why we've selected 4 guards so far,
Mm-hmm.
because these are the guys that are going to make things go. They're going to be the straws that stir the drink, if you will. But I think one thing to keep in mind too that's so important, and you mentioned this, Alan, it's shooting. If there's one thing that I look back at the Rick Pitino era, that it gives me anxiety thinking about it to this day, it's that his teams more often than not struggled to shoot the ball from beyond the arc. That was just, now every once in a while you had a guy, Ryan McMahon, Reese Gaines, Taekwon Dean,
Mm-hmm.
Francisco Garcia, like that big name guy that can really
Mm-hmm.
just shoot the shit
Yeah.
out of it. But you never had rosters of 3, 4, 5 guys that are threats to shoot the ball and that can really space the floor. In the modern game, you have to have that. And especially in this TBT kind of, I guess, setup, if you will, there are going to be multiple situations every game where you have to make a shot. You've got to see a shot go in. Last year, we talked about the Bellarmine game, and they just needed to see a few shots fall, just make something happen. At the end for Elam Enders, when it's coming down to they might get a chance, but you're going to get a chance too. You got it. You have to deliver, right? You got to deliver on both ends, and you have to have a guy make a shot. I think that I would trust in all 4 of these guys. So just to recap where we are real fast, and then we can kind of pick up the pace just a little bit for everybody as well. Alan Thomas has drafted Jay Scrubb and David Sloan. And I am rocking with David Johnson and Chris Jones. Did you just shoot balloons?
I didn't do that.
That was pretty. Yeah, that was. Look at that. I guess we're shooting balloons.
Hey,
too.
I don't know. They like my draft picks.
Maybe that's what it is. Yeah, I didn't get any balloons. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. So Jay Scrubb and David Sloan, and then David Johnson and Chris Jones. I'm liking these rosters so far, but we're going snake. So Alan, you're up again. Who do we got?
I'm glad. I would really hate myself if I didn't pick this guy, even though age was a concern for me going into this. But I'm really split on 2 guys. I'm not going to disclose the other one, but I'm gonna go with my gut, and I'll get yelled at if anybody's watching this and I don't take this guy right now. I'm definitely gonna hear all kinds of hatred. So I'm gonna go with Montrezl Harrell. I think that. I think, as I mentioned a minute ago, the vocal leader. I think so far, I know Jay Scrubb, he can, he's a good defender. I know David Sloan's a good defender. David Sloan's a pretty quiet guy on the floor, just kind of performs. From all the tape that we've seen, he's just kind of a doer, which is fine. I like guys like that. Gary Cooper, strong, silent type, if you will. But Trez is not that, and I think this team, the team that I'm drafting, needs that right now. That I need the personality. Even if you're not the same guy, and we watched a little bit of the Big 3 highlights with him. He seems to be in a lot better shape. I thought he did okay last year. Just concerned about his deep shooting and things like that. But he seems to still be a guy that likes to get under the paint and likes to, go at it and get his elbows dirty and get his hands dirty. So I need him, man. I need a warrior on my team. And I'm hoping to get a couple more. We'll see what happens. But I'll take Trez to be kind of the leader. So far on this team, he would be the captain too, if I had to pick one.
Love that. I love that pick. That would have been my selection. Just full transparency here, Alan.
Yeah.
I think with my next pick, I'm going to surprise some people. But I'm telling you, I think Jacob Land would be on this all day.
I think I know what you're going to say.
I'm going to go Malik Williams.
Okay.
Was I wrong? No.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
I thought you were going to say something else. But yeah.
Well, when you get to that pick, you tell me. Yeah, Malik was your other guy.
Yeah, he was the other guy.
Let me tell you, because look, I think that the following for NBA teams has grown smaller and smaller in the Louisville area over the years. I don't know what it is. I just don't feel. I mean, I know I have buddies that go out and watch the draft and they watch the playoffs together and do all of that fun stuff. But I'm not one of those guys. I don't see a ton of people super invested in the NBA. Like, I mean, I caught some of the finals, but like that's just. It hasn't been my thing. I can't get up for it. But let me tell you about Malik Williams in the NBA G League. He played in 31 games in a 24-25 season. He averaged 16.1 points, 10.2 rebounds, 1.4 assists. And then he also averaged 1.3 steals and 1.4 blocks. All right, this is a guy that he was getting a lot of run for the Sioux Falls Skyforce. Of course, how could I forget the Sioux Falls Skyforce? But he was shooting 45% from the field and 40% from 3. I think that's the key right there. You need a floor stretcher. This is your guy, right? And then I love the aspect of you're playing 2 games in 2 days, right? if you win the first game.
Yeah.
I understand, these guys are most of them are in top physical condition, but still there is something that comes into play as far as depth. And I think by that second game, if you're fortunate enough to get there, I think by that second game on Sunday, that Malik Williams could be a big piece. But this is a guy that's going to stretch the floor for my squad. And I like the fact that you have a big that can shoot it. You kind of had that aspect with Nick Mayo, but this is kind of a different level of he can defend the five. He can defend, all over the floor. But he can defend the five, but he can also stretch the opposing big, which is going to allow these guys that you love getting downhill the opportunity to do so more often. So I like Malik Williams, and I like this to be a guy that plays a lot of minutes. Huge late addition. For my fourth pick, I'm sorry I have to do it. I'm gonna go Russ Smith.
Okay,
that's gonna be pick number 4. I know that there's been a lot going on off the court with Russ. I know that he balances his brand with the league, but I think that they have, overall, really kind of depended on Russ to be kind of a spark plug for this team. He has an Elam Ender under his belt as well.
Yeah.
I can't believe we made it to the 7th pick without taking Russ Smith. But again, the whole purpose of this practice is to illustrate the depth of this squad and how exciting it could be. So I'm going Russ Smith there. That makes my team David Johnson, Chris Jones, Malik Williams, and Russ Smith. So far, Alan, you have Jay Scrubb, David Sloan, and Montrezl Harrell. And with your 4th pick, you're going to take?
Balloons.
No balloons.
It didn't do it. Hang on. 1, 2, 3.
Nothing.
Full disclosure for everybody. A minute ago when I did numbers, the thing shot up balloons like it's your birthday on Twitter or whatever. Like
I'm assuming that people are seeing the balloons. I don't know. Comment and let me know if you can see the balloons. That's all I got for you.
Yeah. If they can't, this is the funniest. Everybody's like, what the hell are these guys talking about?
Give me pick number 4, balloons.
Yeah. My 4th pick. Again, I'm just out the gate. I got Trez, so I got my big guy, enforcer. But I really want. We talked about bigs, and we talked earlier. You mentioned all of them, and we kind of had the same. I have, like I said, next to their name, I had FC or an FC next to all the bigs we listed. The one F I had was Quinn Slazinski, and I am going to again. You asked me what my main concern was with this team, and it's father time. So I think Q is a huge addition to the team just because he can score and he has a lot of youth. And I think I was talking to somebody, in person at the water cooler-ish thing at work about this team, and we both came to the conclusion that you could see you could have 2 or 3 different starting lineups throughout the week as things go based on how people feel or how many minutes they think they can log or whatnot. And I think Quinn, is probably going to be, ready to play a lot of minutes. I mean, he's not going to get tired. He's going to be going against a lot of the forwards in this league are a little bit older. Now there are some that like Ansley at La Familia, just to pick on La Familia a little bit, is fresh legged forward. So that's going to be an interesting one. But I'm gonna stick with youth. I think David Sloan's relatively young. Jay Scrubb's young. I have my quote unquote old timer with Trez, even though I think he looks good for his age, things like that. And that's not even just to head pat him. I think he looks pretty good and in good shape, a lot better shape than last year. And really happy for him coming into the big 3 in this. I think he has a lot of momentum. But as my support piece, who can also shoot it, I'm going to go with Q Slazinski.
Love that pick. All right, Give me 5.
Now, to me, just an easy one. No brainer. It's the other guy I was looking at, and I just need another big dog in there. I know he's coming off some sort of minor injury or whatever that's hobbled him of late, but I still think he's an athletic freak. And I'm going to put him with his fellow Trinity guy, Jay Scrubb. I'm going to go with Ray Spalding.
Love that pick. And again, another guy that I think that we as fans often unless it's a Donovan Mitchell, unless it's a Terry Rozier, like a guy that's just really right there in front of you, that's kind of a nationally known player. We
Mm-hmm.
don't necessarily forget about these guys, but if you go overseas, you play the big three, or you play in some other leagues that are not, right in front of your face on TV or on Sports Center, or coming
Yeah.
across your feed every day on social media. They kind of go to a different place in the back of your mind.
Yeah.
And then in your brain, you kind of think of these players as more of a, their ceiling, or who they are is who they were. And for Ray
Yeah.
Spalding, I think that there's no better example of a player that really kind of took his career to the next level after college than Ray Spalding on this team. I think that's a great pick. Really just kind of calm, steady presence. We saw, his personality kind of showcase, and I think fans will get a chance to see, who Ray Spalding is or who he's become. We lost Allen there for a second, but I think we'll be coming back here in a second. I'm going to go ahead and we lost you there for just a second, Allen, but I think you're back now.
Yeah.
I'm going to make my final starting lineup pick here, and I'm going to go with the guy that I can't believe is still on the board, in Earl Clark. So you're going young. I'm going as old as possible. I'm going to take the oldest guy on the team. But look, Earl Clark's still a dog, dude. Like, I'm just sitting here looking at the big three stats, right? And keep in mind, the other guys on these leaderboards for stats leaders, right? You got Michael Beasley, Glenn Rice Jr., Jordan Crawford, Nasir Kaur, Joe Johnson, Lance Stevenson, Dwight Howard. Like, these are some big name dudes. Obviously, a lot of them are a little bit older, right? Like, I think Dwight Howard, he's got to be in his 40s. Lance Stevenson's got to be in his late 30s at least, right? But right up there on the leaderboard for the leading scorers so far in Big Three, Montrezl Harrell, Earl Clark, number 3 and 4 in scoring in the league. Then you go down to rebounds. Again, Montrezl Harrell, number 5 in rebounds, Earl Clark, number 2 in rebounds in the league. You go to assists. Neither one of them are on there. You go to blocks, though. Montrezl Harrell leads the league in blocks. Earl Clark second in the league in blocks. So these are two guys that are kind of faces of the Big Three. We saw that graphic of Earl versus Montrezl Harrell that was going around. And I mean, look, they see them kind of as faces of their league, and there's a reason for that. These guys are still legit in many ways, and when it comes down to it, I think they're going to be big names, big presences. I like my squad, right? So
yours is nice. Yeah.
Guard wise, we have David Johnson, Chris Jones, and Russ Smith, and then my bigs are Earl Clark and Malik Williams. Guys that are left off, though, let's talk about these guys, because these men are just as important. Very quickly. So you had Quinn Slazinski. So that leaves Chris Dow, Peyton Siva. We don't have Peyton Siva in a starting lineup. This could go many ways, right? Because we saw at the charity basketball game, he absolutely he can bring it. Like, dude, I mean, now granted, he probably took 23s, but I think he made 7 of them, maybe.
Yeah, I'm saying, yeah.
I mean, he's still a floor general, can still orchestrate and rack up the assists with the best of them. I don't know if the speed is there, and that was kind of the defining characteristic for Peyton, right? He's a little bit undersized, but the key is if he's playing healthy and he has the speed, his game has evolved to be a bit more outside oriented as he's gotten older. I'm not sure how often we're dunking right now. But again, a weird name to be left off. Chris Dow, again, a guy that's going to be a significant piece. And then the last piece was Shane Behannon, right? I think that we've covered everybody at that point. So Shane, Peyton, and Chris Dow are our guys coming off of our benches. But look, I don't know if those are the 3 guys that get the least amount of minutes. I really don't. And I think that's the exciting part, right? And I think this has been a great exercise. Like, I knew it was going to be good. Like, I knew it was going to kind of put me in a good place mentally, like as far as you just comparing and contrasting. But, I listed my team. Let's look at your team real fast. Jay Scrubb, David Sloan. And then we're going real big. Montrezl Harrell, Quinn Slazinski, and Ray Spalding. So you go, 6'8", but Montrezl Harrell's 6'8". Quinn Slazinski, who's like 6'8", 6'9", right? And then Ray Spalding, he's a legit like 6'10", 6'11". So you go real big up front. But I like the size with Earl Clark and Malik Williams, and we're going for speed. and shooting as well. But again, I have a lot of age on my team. I have a David Johnson who is looks like is by far the youngest player on this team. Russ is 32, 33, I think. Earl, we said was 37. Now Malik, I think I looked up Malik as well. I think he's 27 or 28. So I got a couple guys in their 20s on this squad.
Yeah.
Either way, we'll put these out here. I want people to vote. Who has the better starting five among us, and as we play TBT GM. But
what they're gonna do,
sorry.
What they're gonna no, you're good. What they're gonna do is they're gonna tag Peyton Siva. 1,000 people are gonna tag Peyton Siva when you do that, and they're gonna be like, dumbasses. You know what I mean? and that's probably fair.
That's fair.
My thing, my justification, and he's a really nice guy, so I don't think he would kill us for that either. But my justification is that he would come off. He'd be probably a sixth man on my team, just because, I mean, the guy has full access, and I know he's a routine guy, and he has full access to shoot 360. We saw that, like I said, in the celebrity game where there's 1-and-1-3 that I kind of looked over at my stepson who was running the scoreboard, and I was like, "Did you see that? Like, fell down, got hammered, swish."
And so that was into the bench. Into the bench, right? Yeah.
That was probably the fifth or sixth three he had. So you can just kind of see he shoots with confidence still. Again, we're talking about a guy that doesn't paint himself as a basketball player anymore. He wants to be a coach. So, but I think having him on the floor and just to spell, like, if I was to spell either of my big guards, maybe especially David Sloan, just to spell him for a little bit, Siva can absolutely shoot it still. And he definitely takes reps on a regular basis at his, I guess, co-owned company or whatever part he has in that. So he has access to the highest form of training. We have gone into Shoot 360. It is definitely, even one day, I took my stepson in there. It's like game changer. Even one day, this dude does it every day. So anyway, to be fair, but yeah, they're going to kill us for that. Shout out to Dow and Shane Bohannon. It's no love lost. That's my solid 5. That's just where I'm at with it.
I think that if you're looking at this roster and just trying to manage playing time, I think is from what we know of where everybody is. I think Shane is kind of towards the bottom of the totem pole. But again, that's a guy that could come in and give you 10 and 6. He did before, and I don't see why he couldn't again. But I think that the roster up top is just so much stronger than it was from year 1 to year 3. So that's the direction we're going. Any final thoughts on TBT? Maybe some predictions. I don't know. We'll probably get back and do this again, but any kind of predictions as we go into the first weekend?
If you'd asked me this a week ago, or before we made our final editions, I would have, and I had told people this, I thought La Familia had a better roster a week ago or whenever it was. I think with the depth pieces, and this is, I said that when I was unsure about Trez coming back too, because I thought he may have just put that out there to get, whatever. And it worked for me at least. It worked for me.
I thought he was out.
Damn it. Yeah. So, and then to add him and Q and Malik Williams, I mean, dude, like that to me is like, they're not just depth pieces. These are regular contributors that you can go to and to get you a bucket that you might draw some things up for, especially Malik. You know what I mean? He can do so many things. So I think now, if you ask me today, and you are asking me today, I will say that we have a better roster than La Familia. Am I measuring the entire tournament against La Familia? No, but that's who knocked us out last year, and that's kind of the measuring stick this year. And I think it has to be. The pendulum has to swing. Again, this isn't college basketball, but the rivalry is very much alive and well in this TBT conversation.
Oh, we had a spit last year.
Mm-hmm.
We had a spat with the spit.
Spitgate, maybe the reason he wasn't Shinanu Onawaku wasn't asked to come back. I'm not going to get into that, but I'd say, I mean, I think what is it? The sky is the ceiling. I'm going to F that up, but is it the ceiling is the sky?
The ceiling is the roof.
The ceiling is the roof. Yeah, that I do. I think La Familia would be a good game. I think we have a deeper roster. I'll say that.
Alan Thomas, he'll be out there on the scene on Saturday. If you see him, make sure to say hello. Follow him at Card and Al on Twitter, and go ahead if you're not following on Twitter by now. I don't know what you're doing, but if you're on YouTube, make sure you go ahead and subscribe as well. At the State of Lou in both places. But Alan, it's been real fun. Until next time.
Yeah.
Let's get out of
Yes,
here.
sir.
Go. I'm not going to say go Cards. Go the Ville.
Go the Ville. I'm still gonna do this though.
Let's get out of here.
Go the Ville. Oh, the Ville.
Maybe if we can get this thing to stop. Maybe.
Stop it.
I'm leaving.
1.